Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready to dive in.
Awesome. Well, today we're tackling self-motivation using these excerpts you sent over from 100 Ways to Motivate Yourself.
Oh yeah, this one looks juicy. It's a bit like having a whole buffet of motivation strategies, right?
That's a great way to put it, a motivation buffet. I like that. Okay, so the book starts off talking about this idea of the power of vision, and it uses Arnold Schwarzenegger as like the prime example.
Right.
It talks about how he envisioned becoming a Hollywood star while he was still a bodybuilder.
It's pretty incredible when you think about it. I mean,
Yeah.
most people would be like, okay, I'm a bodybuilder. What's the next logical step?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
But Schwarzenegger, he had this completely different vision.
He really did.
And what's so fascinating is that he didn't just passively dream about it. He actually lived as if his vision was already a reality.
Oh, I see.
So it's not about sitting around waiting for inspiration to strike. It's more about actually creating that clear picture in your mind and then acting in alignment with that vision.
So it's less about daydreaming and more about almost like tricking your brain into believing it's already happening.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that kind of makes sense because if you believe it's possible, then you're more likely to do the things to actually make it happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like you're setting your internal GPS to a destination.
Interesting.
Once it's programmed in, your subconscious starts looking for the route.
Yeah.
But you have to program it in first. That's the key.
That is the key.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes me think about the next excerpt you sent about telling yourself a true lie.
Oh, yeah.
The book mentions this thing called a lie poem assignment, which actually my daughter had in school.
Really?
Yeah. They had to write these poems about themselves, but everything had to be completely exaggerated, completely untrue. It was hilarious.
Oh, that's great.
But it's kind of like that idea, right?
It is. It's like this fake it till you make it approach.
Right.
Which, it might sound silly. But there's actually a psychological basis for it. Our subconscious minds, they don't always distinguish clearly between what's real and what we're just imagining.
Interesting.
So by repeatedly visualizing that lie, that ideal version of ourselves, we're basically creating a blueprint,
Oh, wow.
for our subconscious to follow.
So, if you keep telling yourself this positive, lie, eventually it becomes your truth.
Well, it's a bit more nuanced than that. It's
Yeah.
not about denying reality. It's more about creating a new reality.
I see.
By aligning your beliefs and your actions with what you actually want. It's a way to kind of break free from those limiting beliefs.
So it's more about what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a,
Intentional.
yes, intentional, self-fulfilling prophecy almost.
There you go.
Okay, so we've got the vision. We're telling ourselves some good lies,
Empowering lines.
empowering lies, but then the doubts creep in.
Right.
How do you push past that fear and keep moving forward?
Yeah.
The book uses this interesting analogy about walking across a 2x4. Do you
Yeah.
remember that one?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
It talks about, I think it was Jimmy Johnson, the football coach.
Yeah.
He said that anyone could walk across a 2x4 if it's just laying flat on the ground.
Right.
No problem. We wouldn't even think twice.
Yeah, you wouldn't even know.
Because you're just focused on walking.
Right.
But if that same 2x4 is suspended between two buildings,
Oh, yeah. Suddenly it's terrifying.
suddenly it's a completely different story.
Yeah, because now you're focused on the falling, the height.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The fear comes from focusing on what might go wrong,
Yeah.
not the actual task.
Yeah.
So how do we apply this to self-motivation? Well, a lot of times we get so caught up in worrying about failing or making mistakes that we totally lose sight of our goals. We're psyching ourselves out before we even start.
So instead of getting all tangled up in those what if I fail thoughts, we need to redirect our focus to the steps that we need to take to get there. Keep our eyes on the 2x4, so to speak.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes on the 2x4. It's about breaking down those big, scary goals into smaller, manageable steps.
Right.
Just focus on the next step and then the next step, not the whole journey all at once.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Now, the book also talks about this idea of definitely planned work,
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
which I have to admit, when I first read it, I was like, ugh, that sounds kind of boring. But then I read the example about the CEO who, like, meticulously plans his week every weekend.
Yeah, and it completely transformed his experience, right?
It really did.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about, like, being more productive or anything. It was about reclaiming that sense of control.
Yes.
Instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm just reacting to whatever's coming at me.
Yeah.
It was more like, okay, I am choosing how I spend my time and energy.
Yes, you're in the driver's seat.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. You're choosing your direction. You're not just letting life happen to you.
Exactly.
And that really resonated with me because I often feel like I'm just reacting to whatever's,
Yeah, the tyranny of the urgent.
Right, exactly. Okay, so you're telling me a little bit of planning could make me feel less stressed.
Well, it's certainly worth a try, isn't it?
It is. I'm going to try that. I'm putting that on my list for this weekend. Okay. This next concept is a little more, let's say, playful. The book talks about bouncing your thoughts like a basketball.
I love that.
Right.
Yeah, it's such a great visual. Think about it. If you're learning to dribble, it feels awkward at first.
Yeah.
Especially with your non-dominant hand.
Yeah.
Right? But the more you practice, the smoother and more natural it becomes.
So it's like, if you tend toward negativity, you can actually train yourself to be more optimistic
Yeah.
by consciously choosing positive thoughts, like almost like you're doing mental reps.
Exactly. Repetition is key. The
Yeah.
more we practice choosing those positive, empowering thoughts, the more they become our default. It's like building a mental muscle.
And so what if you're like, you're thinking and those negative thoughts keep popping up? Do you just like, I don't know, swat them away like a bad basketball shot?
It's more about gently redirecting them.
Okay.
Acknowledge the thought, but don't give it too much power. And then consciously choose a more positive one to replace it.
Okay, got it. This actually leads perfectly into the next concept, which is the unexpected power of slowness.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right. This one really surprised me because, we live in this go, go, go world.
Right. Hustle, hustle, hustle.
Faster is better, do it all, that whole thing.
Yeah.
But the book makes a really good point about starting slowly, especially when you're facing a big, challenging task.
Right.
Because, when you look at the whole thing, it can feel overwhelming. Like, it's like trying to climb a mountain in a single leap.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you break it down,
Smaller steps.
right.
It becomes a lot more manageable.
Right, exactly.
Instead of focusing on reaching the summit, you're just focused on taking the next step.
So by giving ourselves permission to start slowly, we're kind of tricking our minds into taking action.
Exactly. You're overcoming that initial resistance. You're building momentum.
So it's like easing into a cold pool.
Yeah, instead of just jumping in the deep end.
Right, exactly. Okay, so we've talked about the power of vision, telling ourselves, empowering
True lies.
true lies. We've talked about focusing on the task at hand, planning our work, bouncing those thoughts like a basketball.
Love it.
Right, and embracing the power of slowness. It's like we're building a toolkit for self-motivation.
Yes, exactly.
Speaking of tools, the book mentions something really interesting about accessing those energizing brain chemicals
Oh, yeah.
through activities like laughter, singing, dancing.
It really is fascinating. Like, we can hack our own brain chemistry.
Right.
When we do things we enjoy, especially if it involves like movement or creativity, our brains release all these feel-good chemicals.
Yeah. Dopamine, endorphins, all that good stuff.
Exactly.
So it's not just about like feeling good in the moment.
Right.
It actually boosts your motivation and energy levels too.
Exactly.
I'm starting to see why those things are so important. Like I know for me, when I'm writing and I get in a good groove, I can just keep going for hours.
It's almost effortless, right?
Almost effortless, it really is.
That's actually what they call flow state.
Oh yeah, flow state. I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's that feeling of being totally absorbed,
Right.
where time just disappears.
You're just in the zone.
You're just there.
Totally.
Yeah.
And the book is saying, like, we can actually access that through activities that we enjoy that challenge us just enough,
Yes.
but not too much.
Not too much.
So it's not just about, like, relaxing.
No, it's active.
It's actively engaging.
Right.
Okay, I'm seeing that.
Yeah.
So think about, how you feel after zoning out in front of the TV for hours
Right.
versus like how you feel after a walk in nature
Exactly.
or playing music or having a stimulating conversation.
Totally different.
Totally different. Okay, so I'm definitely find more flow activities on my to-do list.
Good.
Now, there's this concept from the book I wanted to unpack.
Okay.
Turning weaknesses into strengths.
Oh, interesting.
Sounds kind of impossible.
Well, we're often, we're taught to see our weaknesses as something to hide.
Right, or overcome.
Yeah, or fix.
Yeah.
But what if they're like untapped strengths?
That's kind of a mind shift.
It is a mind shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The book talks about the author's voice. He thought it was really weak and monotone, but he started training it, singing along to music, and eventually developed a really strong speaking voice.
Pretty amazing.
It is. It really is.
It's the power of mindset.
Right.
He went from like, oh, my voice is bad,
Yeah.
to my voice is raw material.
Yeah.
I can work with this.
Right. I like that.
Yeah.
I've always struggled with being overly enthusiastic.
Okay.
Sometimes it feels like I come on too strong, but maybe it's not a bad thing.
Maybe not.
Maybe it's just my style.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
What if that enthusiasm is actually a strength? What if it's what makes you relatable and engaging?
I've never thought about it that way.
Right.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So, reframe the weakness, see it as a potential asset.
There you go.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, there's another concept from the book I really resonated with.
Okay.
Simplifying our lives.
Oh, that's huge.
It's huge, right? And it's not just about decluttering your physical states.
Right.
It's also about your mental landscape,
Yes.
which I need to do both.
Don't we all?
We all do.
Yeah.
We underestimate the impact of clutter
Right.
on our mental state.
Yeah, it's like having a million tabs open in your brain,
Yes, a million tabs open.
all competing for your attention.
Totally.
Yeah.
The book gives this example of like combining tasks to maximize efficiency.
Oh, yeah. Remember that?
Like the author, he would read his kids' book reports while they were grocery shopping.
There you go.
Like multitasking hack.
It's about being intentional.
Right.
Right.
Intentional with your time and energy.
Yeah, instead of seeing those mundane things as like
Chores.
chores,
Yeah.
find a way to make them enjoyable or productive.
So instead of scrolling through social media while I'm waiting in line, I could listen to an inspiring podcast
There you go.
or brainstorm ideas for a project.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah,
I'm starting to feel more motivated already.
good.
Speaking of efficiency, the book introduces this character
Okay.
named Bob, the CEO.
Oh, I remember Bob.
Bob, who handles everything immediately.
Immediately.
This guy sounds like my productivity idol.
Right.
He doesn't let anything pile up.
Right.
Tackles tasks as soon as they come up.
Keeps it all moving.
Keeps it moving.
Yeah.
Streamlined, mind clear. Imagine that.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It would be nice. No looming to-do lists hanging over my head.
Right.
I'm stealing some of Bob's strategies, for sure.
That's good.
What about when those doubts start to creep in?
Ooh, yeah, the doubts.
Right, like you're not good enough, or you'll never finish what you start.
Yep.
The book talks about the importance of building a track record.
Oh, I like that.
Right. Actions speak louder than words.
Always.
So it's not just about, positive self-talk.
No, it's about doing it.
It's about showing up and doing the work, almost like building that confidence through experience.
Exactly.
Right.
It's like learning to use a computer.
Look.
You can't just say affirmations.
Right.
You have to actually sit down and do it.
You have to do it.
Yeah, you got to practice.
Right.
And then each time you succeed, you build your confidence.
Right. Each time you finish what you start,
Exactly.
that belief in yourself grows stronger.
Yeah.
This makes me think of the next excerpt you sent
Okay.
about welcoming the unexpected.
Ooh, interesting.
The book argues that true creativity isn't about being original, it's about being unexpected.
Interesting.
I'm not sure I get it.
Okay, well, the author's kind of challenging this idea that we need to come up with something completely new
Right.
to be creative.
Okay.
He says that, real innovation often comes from combining existing ideas
Okay.
in surprising new ways.
So it's less about reinventing the wheel
Right.
and more about finding, a new way to spin it.
Exactly. Taking inspiration from different places
Right.
and kind of mashing them up
Into something new.
into something unique. Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Right.
And it's much less intimidating
Okay.
than thinking you have to come up with something completely new.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I like that.
Good.
Now, this part of the book was really interesting to me.
Okay.
It talks about the author's own journey towards self-motivation, which was sparked by a book.
A book.
Yeah, called The Master Key to Riches.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing how a single book can be so impactful, right?
It really is.
It really is. The author talks about how he just devoured everything by Napoleon Hill.
Wow.
Even listening to those motivational audiobooks while he slept.
Wow, dedicated.
Dedicated.
Yeah.
But what was the master key?
Well, it boils down to self-discipline.
Oh, okay.
Specifically the self-discipline to control your mind.
I see.
You know, recognizing that we have the power
Right.
to choose our thoughts, our beliefs.
Right, our actions.
Our actions.
So it's not about some external thing or magic formula.
No, it's all internal.
It's all internal.
Yeah,
That's empowering.
it is.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, there's another concept from the book I wanted to ask you about.
Okay.
It talks about using our cars as rolling libraries.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big fan of audiobooks, so I loved this one.
Me too.
Right.
Yeah.
The author, he's a huge advocate for audiobooks
Mm.
as a way to learn and grow.
Right, while you're doing those otherwise unproductive
Like
things.
commuting.
Commuting, yeah.
Yeah.
Think of all the time we spend in our cars.
It's true.
It's like wasted potential.
Wasted potential.
But if you're listening to a book
Mm-hmm.
or a podcast,
Yeah.
you're turning that dead time
Mm-hmm.
into a learning opportunity.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a simple but brilliant shift.
It is. It is.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like that whole being intentional with your time.
Right. Be intentional.
Be intentional,
Exactly.
yeah.
Okay, now the book also talks about the importance of listening to silence.
Oh, interesting.
Which kind of surprised me because we're constantly bombarded with noise.
Right, and
Simulation, it never ends.
yeah, it's a battle for our attention.
Totally.
Yeah.
But the author, he says that by intentionally creating space for silence and stillness,
Uh-huh.
we can access like a deeper level of clarity.
I can see that.
Right. It's like you hit the pause button on the world.
Yeah,
Give your mind a chance to catch up.
it's true. It's in those quiet moments
Right.
that we often have our biggest breakthroughs.
Okay. So I'm going to try to schedule some silence time into my week.
Good.
Now, this next one is, well, daring.
Okay.
The book encourages us to do the things we fear.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Talk about stepping outside your comfort zone.
Right?
Right.
Yeah, but it's about recognizing that fear is often what holds us back.
Totally. Yeah.
Right.
It keeps us in those routines, those patterns.
Yeah, stuck. Yeah.
But by facing those fears, you're expanding that comfort zone. You're
Exactly.
proving you can do more than you thought.
You're more capable than you think.
Way more capable.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, as you do that, you get more confident.
Right.
And that spills over into other areas of your life.
It's a positive feedback loop.
It is.
Right.
Yeah,
I like that.
good.
Okay, so this next excerpt takes a bit of a turn.
Okay.
It talks about creating the way we relate to others.
Oh, interesting.
I'm not sure I see the connection to self-motivation.
Well, the author's saying that self-motivation isn't just like an internal thing.
Okay,
It's also about how we interact with other people.
I see.
Right, our relationships, they have a huge impact.
On our mood, our energy.
Our energy, our mood, yeah.
Right.
And ultimately our motivation.
Right, right.
Yeah.
The book shares a really sweet story
Oh, yeah.
about his daughter, Margie,
Mar-
and how she helped a shy classmate who was being teased. And she did it in such a creative way. Instead of getting angry
Right.
or trying to control the situation,
Right.
she used her imagination to shift the dynamic
Okay.
and create a win-win for everyone.
That's awesome.
It was really sweet. It's a good example of how we can use creativity and empathy
Right.
to, create better connection.
To go stronger bonds. Yeah.
Right, and just make those interactions more positive.
More enjoyable.
Right, more enjoyable. It's
Yeah.
like we can proactively create a social environment
Right.
that supports our well-being.
Exactly. It's
That's
not
that.
something that just happens to us.
Right.
It's something we create.
We create it,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Now, the book also dives into this idea of willpower,
Okay.
challenging the idea that it's like a finite resource. Which,
Okay.
that you either have it or you don't. I've always struggled with willpower.
I think a lot of people do.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So I was really curious to share what the book had to say about it.
Right. So what'd they say?
Well, the author argues that willpower is more like a muscle
Okay.
that you can strengthen with practice.
So you can build it up.
You can build it up.
Yeah.
And the people who seem to have like incredible willpower, they've just developed strong habits.
Right. The routine.
The routines that support their goals.
Yeah, it becomes more automatic.
Right. They've automated those good behaviors.
Yeah, less conscious effort.
Less conscious effort. So it's not about just like white knuckling it.
No.
Right.
You're setting yourself up for success.
Yeah, creating that environment that makes it easier to make those healthy choices.
Exactly.
Right.
It's being strategic.
Strategic.
Yeah.
I like that.
Good.
So it's like, instead of relying on willpower alone, you're setting yourself up for success.
Yeah, you got to create the right environment.
Create the right environment.
Remove those temptations.
Yes, remove the temptations.
Yeah, set up those cues for good behaviors.
Good behaviors, exactly.
Yeah, and that makes it so much easier.
Makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
Okay, this is making a lot of sense.
I don't know.
The book also talks about the power of rituals.
Oh, rituals are powerful.
Right, like they're almost like little shortcuts.
They are.
Right, to productivity.
To productivity, to motivation.
To motivation.
Yeah.
They help us get into action more easily.
They really do.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like your brain learns to associate the ritual with a specific mental state.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Entering that flow state.
A flow state or getting into a creative mindset.
Creative mindset, right.
Yeah.
And the book gives this example of writers and painters who have specific rituals.
Right. Before they start working.
Before they start.
It's like signaling their brain.
Right. It's time to be creative.
Time to get to work.
Right. Get in the zone. It's
Yeah.
like setting the stage. Yes, setting the stage for the performance.
Okay, I like that. Yeah.
Now, this next concept is a little abstract.
Okay.
It talks about finding a place to come from. Interesting.
What does that even mean?
Well, it's recognizing that your happiness shouldn't depend on external things.
Yeah.
Goals,
Yeah.
achievements.
Right. You don't have to earn it.
You don't earn it. It's something you choose.
You choose it right now.
In this moment.
Yeah, in this moment.
Okay, so instead of waiting for something to happen to make us happy,
Right.
we can choose to be happy now
Yes.
and let that fuel our actions.
Exactly. It's a shift in mindset
Right.
from scarcity
To abundance.
to abundance. Yeah. I love that.
There you go.
It's a powerful shift.
It is.
Okay, so there's another concept from the book that I wanted to ask you about.
Okay.
It's this idea of acting the part you want to be.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Right. Sounds a little bit like
Uh-huh.
fake it till you make it.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I feel like there's more to it.
There's a subtle difference.
Okay.
It's not just pretending.
Right.
It's about embodying
Right.
those qualities and behaviors
Of the person you want to be.
of the person you want to be.
Right. So it's about like aligning your actions with your desired identity.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
The book has this funny story about the author's friend, Fred Knight.
Oh, yeah, Fred. I remember Fred.
He wanted to win over his girlfriend's dad, who was really skeptical of him because he was wealthy.
Uh-huh.
And so he did it by acting the part
By acting the part.
of a successful suitor,
Okay.
even carrying around a $100 bill to make a point.
Oh, wow.
Right. Which, you know, it might seem superficial, but it worked.
It worked.
Right.
Yeah.
And it highlights that idea that, you know, our external actions can influence our internal beliefs.
They can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if we act as if we're already that person, we're sending a message to our subconscious
To your subconscious.
and to the people around us,
to the world.
to the world. So it's
Yeah.
like that self-fulfilling prophecy again.
It is.
Right. Okay, I'm starting to see how this all comes together.
Good.
Now, there's another belief that the book challenges.
Okay.
This idea that discipline is about restriction and limitation. But the book argues that it's actually a form of freedom.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, think about it. When you lack discipline, you're a slave to your impulses.
Right. You're reacting all the time.
Right, you're reacting to cravings.
To cravings, to distractions.
Distractions, it feels like you're being pulled in a million directions.
Exactly.
But when you develop self-discipline, you take back control.
You do. You're making conscious choices.
Yes. You're choosing your actions
Right.
based on your values.
Your values, your goals.
You're
You're not ruled by those fleeting impulses.
not ruled by them.
Yeah.
So it's like you become the CEO of your own
With your own life, yes.
Right.
Yes.
This makes me think of the next excerpt you sent
Okay.
about cultivating the art of appreciation.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right. I struggle with this.
I think a lot of us do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mind's always racing ahead
Right. To the next thing.
to the next thing, to the next goal.
The next goal, the next deadline.
Deadline, always.
Yeah. It's hard to stay present.
It's so hard to stay present.
Yeah.
But the book, it reminds us that true joy
Mm-hmm.
and fulfillment comes from savoring this moment
Right now.
right now,
Yeah.
appreciating the beauty
Mm-hmm.
that's already here.
It's already here, exactly.
It quotes Voltaire.
Oh, yeah.
When asked how he would spend his last 24 hours,
Mhm.
he replied, one at a time.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a powerful reminder to just slow down
Slow down.
and appreciate the present moment.
It's a present moment.
Yeah, I love that.
It's good stuff.
It is good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so the book also encourages us to be like good detectives.
Detectives.
Yeah, in our interactions with others.
Oh, interesting.
What does that mean?
Well, it's about being curious,
Okay.
asking questions
Mm.
and really listening to the answers.
Really listen.
Not just like waiting to talk.
Right, not just waiting for your turn to talk.
Exactly. Or trying to dominate the conversation.
Right.
Yeah, it's more about understanding.
Understanding.
Yeah.
So it's not about proving you're right. It's
Correct.
about seeking to understand.
To understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that creates connection.
Right. Creates a space for dialogue.
For dialogue, exactly.
where both people feel heard,
Heard, respected.
respected. Okay, I like that.
Good.
And this actually leads perfectly into the next excerpt
Okay.
about motivating ourselves by focusing on helping others.
Oh, I love that.
Right. I've always believed in giving back,
Mm-hmm.
but I never thought about it as a
As a self-motivation strategy.
motivation strategy.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of a paradox.
It is. It's a beautiful paradox.
You're shifting your focus
Mhm.
away from your own needs and
Mhm.
desires and focusing on how you can contribute.
Right. How can you help?
How can you help?
Yeah, and it gives you purpose.
Gives you purpose.
Yeah.
The book quotes Spencer Johnson,
Oh, yeah.
who said, "I have more fun and enjoy more financial success when I stop trying to get what I want and start helping other people get what they want."
Wow. That's powerful.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that, we're all connected.
They're all connected.
And by contributing to the well-being of others,
Mm-hmm.
we're ultimately creating a better experience for ourselves.
We are.
Right? Okay, so we've got appreciating.
We've got appreciating the present moment, being curious in our interactions, and finding motivation in helping others.
It's all starting to come together.
It is. It's like we're weaving a tapestry of self-motivation.
I love that analogy. Now, what about those times when we inevitably slip up? Like we make some progress and then we slide back. The book talks about this 2 steps forward, 1 step back phenomenon and the importance of planning for renewal.
Right. Because progress is rarely linear.
Yeah.
There are going to be ups and downs, setbacks. It's totally normal.
So it's not about avoiding those setbacks. It's more about having a plan for bouncing back.
Exactly. It's like having a mental first aid kit ready
I like that. A mental first aid kit.
for those moments of self-doubt.
Okay, so the book also challenges this belief that, our brains just decline with age.
Oh, yeah.
It says it's not aging itself, it's lack of use.
Right. Our brains are so adaptable.
They are.
It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
So if you don't use it, you lose it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So keep challenging yourself. Keep learning. Do things that stimulate your brain.
I'm going to try to be more mindful of that. The book also talks about this idea of coming to our own rescue.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember this one? It shares a story about the author's friend who sent him a song, and it goes, "When my faith is sinking low, my thoughts are dark and gloomy, there's only one place I can go to love, truth, and confidence."
It's powerful, right?
It is, because it reminds us that we already have the strength inside us.
To face those challenges.
We just have to tap into it.
Exactly.
Okay, so this next one is a little, well, it might be a little controversial for some. The book suggests going on news fasts.
Ah, interesting.
I have to admit, I kind of like my news.
It can be addictive, right?
It really can be.
But think about it. A lot of news is designed to trigger our emotions. Fear, anxiety, all of that.
Yeah, and it's easy to get caught up in that negativity spiral.
It is. But if you take a break from the news, you create space for more positive things.
You know what? I think I might try that. Give myself a little news detox. Now, this next part of the book is pretty bold. It says that whatever goal you want to reach, you can reach it 10 times faster if you are happy.
Wow.
I know, right? It's almost like happiness is a superpower.
It kind of is. It's like a secret ingredient to success.
Right. Because when you're happy, you're more creative, you're more resilient.
You take action.
You take action. Exactly. It just makes everything flow better.
It really does.
Okay, so this next concept, the book calls it getting up on the right side of the brain. It talks about the differences between the left and right hemispheres of the brain.
Right, like logic versus creativity.
Exactly. And how we can unlock our full potential by using both sides.
Interesting.
Yeah, the book uses this example of lifting a heavy bag of sand versus lifting an injured child of the same weight.
Okay.
So your left brain might, protest at the thought of lifting that sandbag,
Yeah.
but if your child is in danger, you wouldn't even think twice.
Right, you'd find a way.
You'd find a way, because your right brain would kick in and give you that surge of, energy and strength.
So purpose is powerful.
Purpose is powerful. When you're connected to your why, it doesn't even feel like effort.
Exactly. It becomes an expression of who you are.
I love that. Okay, the book also talks about the power of games.
Oh, games are great.
Right, I love games, but I never really thought of them as a self-motivation tool.
Well, games have all these elements that naturally motivate us. Think about challenge, skill building, competition,
Rewards.
rewards.
Yeah.
Yes. They make learning fun.
The book even quotes playwright Noel Coward, who said, "Work is more fun than fun."
I like that.
Right. Okay, so the next concept is about active versus passive relaxation.
Okay, what's the difference?
Well, it's challenging that idea that relaxation just means, zoning out in front of the TV.
Right.
Passive relaxation, it says true relaxation, the kind that actually restores you, involves actively engaging your mind.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it mentions Winston Churchill, who painted to relax, and Albert Einstein, who played the violin.
They were stimulating one part of their brain while giving another part a break.
Yeah, cross-training for your brain. Okay, so the next one is about treating each day as a masterpiece.
Oh, I love that.
Right, it's about shifting our focus from the past or the future to right now.
To the present moment.
Yes, seeing each day as this unique opportunity.
To create something beautiful.
It's like we're given a blank canvas every morning, and we get to choose what to paint. Okay, so this next one, I don't know how to even wrap my head around this. It says, to see problems as gifts.
Oh, wow. Okay.
How is that even possible?
It's about perspective, right? It's reframing those challenges as opportunities for growth.
Okay, so instead of seeing them as obstacles, see them as puzzles to solve.
Exactly. Or lessons to learn.
The book quotes physician Andrew Weil, who said, "The greatest tragedy in life is not death, but what dies inside while we live."
That's deep. It's a reminder that challenges are a part of life. How we choose to face them defines us.
So it's less about avoiding problems and more about using them as fuel
Yes.
for personal growth.
Okay. I like that. So the book also talks about reminding our minds of the things we want to remember. It suggests that we treat motivational ideas like songs.
Keep repeating them until they stick.
Right. Find ways to make them memorable.
It's about internalizing those beliefs. The more we hear them, the more our subconscious mind absorbs them.
So it's like creating our own personal soundtrack for success. The book even suggests writing those ideas down.
Oh yeah, put them where you can see them.
Right. Like on your mirror or your fridge or your desk. Like creating a vision board almost.
Exactly. It makes those ideas real, tangible.
Okay, so the book also highlights this cool technique for reinforcing motivational insights. It suggests writing letters to ourselves.
Ooh, like a time capsule of inspiration. Yes. Cap this in those key takeaways, our intentions for the future. It says the author did this with his seminar participants. He had them write down their goals and insights.
Interesting.
Yeah. Seal them in envelopes and then mail them to themselves a month later.
And did it work?
People found it incredibly impactful.
Wow. What a great way to reconnect with those goals.
Right. It's like receiving a message from your past self.
I love that.
So I'm definitely trying this. Now, there's this idea of process goals, which are basically these small, actionable steps
Okay.
that lead to bigger goals.
So breaking it down into bite-sized pieces.
Exactly. It makes it less overwhelming.
Right.
It's like instead of trying to climb the whole mountain at once, you focus on taking one step at a time.
I like that analogy.
The book also talks about advertising to ourselves.
Okay, what do they mean by that?
It's about defining our desires, writing down what we want, like creating a roadmap for our lives. It suggests this exercise where you draw 4 circles.
4 circles.
Yeah, representing the day, the month, the year, and life. And inside each circle, you write down what you want.
Oh, interesting. I like that visual.
Right, it makes those aspirations feel more real.
More tangible.
Exactly. Okay, so this next story, this one was just wild.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So the author, he's writing about how he had this random thought about giving seminars at Arizona State University.
Right.
And then, later that day, he meets someone whose mother worked at ASU.
Wow. What are the chances?
Right. It's like the universe was like, listening,
That's amazing. It's like when you put something out there.
and the universe responds.
Yeah. Or, maybe it's that we become more attuned to opportunities.
When we focus our attention on what we want.
Exactly. And that allows us to recognize those opportunities when they show up.
So it's about being open and ready. Got it. The book also talks about asking what-if questions to boost creativity.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
I'm always looking for ways to be more creative.
Me too. So what kind of what-if questions do they suggest?
It uses this example of a CEO who's struggling with a new product idea. And someone says to him, what if your product could fly?
What if it could fly?
Okay. Yeah.
Like, totally out there.
They're crazy. But that one question sparked a ton of ideas that led to a breakthrough.
So, thinking outside the box.
Way outside the box.
I like it.
It's about letting your imagination run wild.
Exactly. No limits.
Okay, so next up is the power of positive thinking.
Classics.
The book mentions Norman Vincent Peale.
Oh, the power of positive thinking.
Yeah, it's a classic. And back then, his ideas were a little bit controversial.
Right. Not a lot of scientific evidence at the time.
Exactly. But now, with positive psychology, there's all this research
That backs it up.
that backs it up.
Right.
So it's time to revisit those ideas with a fresh perspective.
I love that. Okay, what about those negative thoughts?
Oh yes, they inevitably creep in, but the book suggests that we can actually debate them.
Debate them, like in a courtroom.
Kind of. The author says that most of us are already pretty good debaters.
Well, yeah.
Right. We can argue both sides of an issue.
True.
So instead of letting those negative thoughts take over, we can challenge them.
Present a case for the positive.
Exactly. Okay, so now the book suggests that we can actually make trouble work for us.
Oh, interesting. Okay, how do we do that?
Well, it's about recognizing that we often have more control than we think.
Okay.
So instead of seeing problems as like a personal attack,
Right.
we can reframe them as opportunities for growth.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. The book has this story about how the author's daughter stayed out past curfew.
Oh, no.
I know, right? And his first reaction was anger and worry.
Understandable.
But then he stopped and asked himself, how can I use this?
Wow. That's a powerful question.
It is. It's about choosing how we respond to those situations.
Taking back control.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so the book also talks about brainstorming with optimism.
Ooh, I like that. Brainstorming with optimism.
Right. It's about approaching those problems with a positive mindset instead of getting bogged down in the negativity.
It's focusing on solutions.
Focusing on solutions,
Yeah.
generating as many ideas as possible.
The more the merrier.
Exactly. Okay, this next one is so true. It talks about the importance of having positive friends.
Oh, yeah. Our social circles have a huge impact on us.
They really do. I've definitely noticed that my energy shifts depending on who I'm with.
Me too. It's important to be around people who are supportive, encouraging.
And uplifting.
Exactly.
Okay, and the book says to keep changing our voices.
Our voices.
I think it means more than our literal voices.
Right. I think it's about challenging those limiting beliefs that we're stuck with our inherent talents.
Like we can't change or improve.
Exactly. But we can.
The book talks about how the author transformed his own speaking voice. He was inspired by Richard Burton, the actor, who sang every morning to strengthen his vocal cords.
Wow.
Right, so if he can do that,
We can work on our own voices.
we can all work on our voices. Okay, now, I love this one. It challenges the idea that age is a barrier.
Oh, good. Because it's not.
It's not. Experience and knowledge are so valuable.
Especially now.
Right, so it's less about how old you are and more about what you bring to the table.
Exactly. Your unique skills and experience. That's what matters.
The book uses this analogy of approaching life as a game of psychological golf.
Psychological golf. Okay.
Yeah, it's about focusing on your personal best, not
Yeah.
comparing yourself to others.
I love that because we all have different starting points.
Right, and we all have our own unique journey.
Exactly. Celebrate your own progress.
Okay, the book also talks about the connection between breathing and thinking.
Oh, yeah. Deep breathing is so powerful.
Right. It mentions Bobby Fischer, the chess champion.
I've heard of them.
He used deep breathing techniques to enhance his focus and mental stamina.
Our brains need oxygen.
They do. So it's not just about physical health. It affects our mental clarity as well.
Absolutely. It's all connected.
Okay, this next one is simple but important. It says, get up and move.
Yes.
It quotes General George Patton, who said, your brain stops working after you sit in a swivel chair for 20 minutes.
Wow. Straight to the point.
I know, right? But he has a point.
He does. Movement is so important for our mental and physical well-being.
Totally. Okay, so the book also talks about having a good coach.
Oh, yeah. A mentor.
Yeah.
Someone to guide you.
Exactly, because we all have blind spots, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes we need that outside perspective.
Someone to help us see things more clearly.
It shares this example of a business consultant who used this great metaphor. He compared our habits to the houses we live in.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, and sometimes we need to move out of our house of habits.
Find a new one that better supports our goals.
Yes, I love that. The book also says to get our souls talking.
Interesting.
And it quotes Plato, who said, thinking is the soul talking to itself.
I mean, I talk to myself all the time.
Me too.
Yeah.
But it's about being more intentional with those inner conversations, right?
Engaging in self-reflection.
Yeah, which can be so powerful for growth. The book actually recommends a couple of exercises for this. One is from Martin Seligman's Learned Optimism. It's called Disputing Our Pessimism.
Okay.
And the other is from Nathaniel Branden's The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem. It's called Completing Sentence Stems.
Cool. Both of those sound like great tools for becoming more aware of our thoughts and beliefs.
Okay, so we're getting our souls talking, we're moving our bodies, we're finding mentors.
For creating a whole self-motivation system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop there. The book talks about this crazy strategy called promising the moon.
Promising the moon. That sounds ambitious.
It is. It's about setting those outrageous goals, the ones that seem impossible.
Okay, give me an example.
Like, it uses the example of President John F. Kennedy's promise to put a man on the moon.
Wow, yeah, that was a big one.
Right. It seemed impossible back then, but it ignited this passion.
And they did it.
They did it. It's about setting goals that light you up, that make you want to take action.
Love that.
Okay, so speaking of outrageous goals, the book tells this funny story about a casino owner who wanted to quit smoking.
Okay.
And so he put up a billboard in Las Vegas.
A billboard. What did it say?
It said, if you see me smoking, I'll give you $100,000.
Wow. Talk about accountability.
Right. He made it public and the stakes were high.
I bet that worked.
It did. He quit smoking.
That's amazing.
Right. Okay, so now let's talk about creating your own luck.
But isn't luck random?
Well, that's what we think, right? But the author argues that we can increase our chances by being intentional. The book talks about a friend who landed her dream job. It seemed like pure luck.
Okay.
But it turns out she had been networking, building her skills, putting herself out there for years.
So she created the conditions for that lucky break.
Exactly. It's about being prepared and open to opportunities.
I like that. We can create our own luck.
Okay, this next one is about giving credit where credit is due.
Oh, that's important.
It is. And I've always believed in being generous with praise, but the book made me realize it's not just about being nice.
It's strategy.
It is, for success. It quotes Henry Ford, who said, if there's any one secret of success, it lies in the ability to get the other person's point of view and see things from that person's angle as well as from your own.
So empathy and understanding.
Yes, it creates a better environment for everyone. Now, the book offers this great approach to negativity. Don't get mad, get better.
I love that. Turn that frustration into something positive.
Right, like it tells the story of Michael Jordan. He was cut from his high school basketball team.
Wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah, but he didn't let that define him.
Use it as fuel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He worked harder and became one of the greatest basketball players ever.
That's inspiring. It's a good reminder that setbacks can make us stronger.
They can, they really can. Okay, the book also tells the amazing story of Helen Keller.
Oh, wow. What an incredible woman.
She overcame so much
Being deaf and blind.
and became a renowned author, activist, and lecturer.
Her story is incredible.
The book quotes her saying, "The only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision."
That's powerful.
Right. It's a reminder that sometimes our biggest limitations are the ones we create in our own minds.
Our mindset is everything.
It really is. Okay, so the book also talks about stopping seeking external validation.
Oh, that's a big one.
Right, like it's easy to compare ourselves to others wanting their approval.
Totally. But true self-worth comes from within.
It does. The book uses this example of Gordon Liddy. To overcome his fear of rats,
Okay.
he cooked and ate them.
Oh, wow. That's a choice.
It is, but hey, it worked for him. It's about confronting our fears head on. Okay, the next one is about going to war with ourselves.
Going to war.
Well, in a metaphorical sense.
Okay, less scary then.
Right. It shares the story of Anthony Burgess. After being diagnosed with a terminal illness, he wrote 5.5 novels in a year.
Wow.
He was determined to leave a legacy for his wife.
That's incredible.
And he didn't even die. He lived a long life, wrote over 70 books.
That's amazing. It shows we have so much untapped potential.
We do. And sometimes it takes a jolt to wake us up. So the book asks us, what would you do if you had just 1 year to live?
Ooh, that's a powerful question.
Right. It makes you rethink your priorities. Okay, so now let's talk about the 5% solution.
Okay, 5%.
It's about making small changes instead of those big, overwhelming ones, like with diet. Instead of cutting out everything unhealthy.
Start by adding more fruits and veggies.
Exactly. Small steps, consistently applied.
That leads to big change over time.
Okay, this next one is a little strange. The book says, do it badly.
To do it badly, okay.
It's about overcoming perfectionism.
Oh, I see. Don't let the fear of not being perfect stop you from starting.
Exactly. Like with writing, it's easy to get stuck because you want it to be perfect.
Yeah, but you end up not writing anything at all.
Right. So just get those ideas out and you can always polish them later.
Give yourself permission to be messy.
Love that. Embrace the mess. Okay, so there's this concept called visioneering.
Visioneering, it sounds like vision and engineering combined.
That's exactly what it is. It's about engineering dreams into reality.
So using visualization.
The author tells a story about his daughter who used this technique to help her friend who was afraid of diving.
Okay.
So she walked her friend through this visualization, standing on the board, feeling the sun, picturing the perfect dive.
And did it work?
It did. Her friend overcame her fear and went for it.
Wow, that's amazing. The power of the mind is incredible.
It really is. Okay, so next up, lighten up.
Always good advice.
Find humor, even when things are tough.
Laughter's the best medicine.
The book reminds us that taking things lightly can be really liberating.
Totally. It helps us to cope with stress and find joy.
Okay, this one is for me. Make lists.
I love making lists.
Me too. The book uses the example of grocery shopping. You're more likely to forget things without a list.
So true.
And it suggests making lists for everything. Goals, projects, even our worries.
It helps us to organize our thoughts, make things more manageable.
Exactly. Okay, so we're making lists, finding humor, using our imaginations.
It's all coming together.
It is. The next one is be the message.
Be the message.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that our actions speak louder than words.
Lead by example.
Exactly. It tells a story about a manager who was trying to motivate his team. And instead of giving speeches, he started modeling the behavior he wanted to see.
He walked the talk.
He did. He showed up early, worked hard, and his team followed suit.
That's powerful. We teach through our actions.
Okay, so next up, action plans.
Love a good action plan.
Me too. They're crucial for turning goals into reality.
Breaking things down into steps.
The book gives this example of a wrestler who was great at reacting to his opponents,
Okay.
but he couldn't seem to win. His dad suggested he create his own attack plan.
So he was proactive.
Yes, and he started winning. It's about taking charge, not just waiting for things to happen. Being the driver of your own success.
I like that. Okay, rejection. Ugh,
It's the worst.
it's tough. But the book has an interesting take on it.
Oh, tell me more.
It says to reframe rejection as a challenge.
A challenge.
Yeah. Like when someone says no, take it as a question. Can't you be more creative than that? I never thought of it that way. So instead of feeling defeated, you see it as an opportunity.
To think outside the box. Come up
Ah.
with something even better.
Okay, I can work with that. Now, the book also stresses the importance of having a sense of purpose.
Yes. Purpose is so important.
It's like the fuel that keeps us going.
When you know your why, everything becomes easier.
Right. The book talks about a mother lifting a car to save her child.
Oh, wow.
In that moment, her purpose is so clear. She finds this incredible strength.
Purpose can move mountains, literally.
It can. Okay, so this next one's for me. Replace worry with action.
Worry can be paralyzing.
It is. The book suggests asking yourself, what can I do about this right now?
So simple, but so powerful.
It's about focusing on solutions, taking action.
Instead of getting stuck in that worry cycle.
Okay, this next one is a good reminder. Be a thinker, not a whiner.
Oh, I love that.
Right. Thinkers focus on solutions.
They don't just complain, they take action.
Exactly. It's about being empowered, not a victim.
Okay, I'm going to try to be more of a thinker.
Me too. Now, the book makes a distinction between pleasure and enjoyment.
How is different?
Pleasure is fleeting. Enjoyment is more lasting. The book says true enjoyment comes from using your skills facing challenges.
Okay, I get it. Like, watching TV might be pleasurable, but...
It doesn't really engage you.
Right. But, like, preparing a Thanksgiving meal, that's enjoyable.
Because it involves effort, skill, and it leads to a feeling of accomplishment.
Makes sense. It's about finding activities that challenge us and help us grow.
Okay, so we're replacing worry with action, we're being thinkers, we're finding enjoyment in challenges.
Our self-motivation toolkit is getting full.
It is. Now we're going back to this idea of turning weaknesses into strengths.
Ah, yes. The power of reframing.
The author uses the example of Arnold Schwarzenegger. His Austrian accent was initially seen as a problem in Hollywood,
Right.
but he turned it into a distinctive part of his persona.
He owned it, and it became part of his charm.
Exactly. It's about finding a way to leverage those differences. Okay, the next one is a little bit out there. The book says to become the problem.
Become the problem. That sounds counterintuitive.
It is, but it's about taking ownership. The book quotes James Belasco, who said, "In most situations, I am the problem,"
So it's about recognizing that we have more control than we think.
and taking responsibility for finding solutions.
Okay.